Don't ever disrespect my mom again." The words came from the tiniest voice in the room, trembling yet fierce. A 6-year-old girl standing in the middle of the living room, her small hands clenched into fists. Chuka froze where he stood, his chest still heaving from the argument that had just ended. Or at least he thought it had. His wife, Ada, sat on the sofa, tears glistening on her cheeks. The room was heavy with tension. Even the sound of the city beyond their window, the faint hum of cars, the occasional horn, seemed to pause. Little Zara had been sitting quietly on the rug, coloring. She always did that when her parents argued, trying to make the world around her less loud, less cruel. But this time, when her father's raised voice hit the walls and her mother's sobs broke through, something inside her snapped. She stood up, her cartoon-covered pajamas wrinkled, her face streaked with tears she didn't remember shedding. "Daddy," she said, her voice shaking, "don't ever disrespect my mom again." Chuka blinked, unsure he'd heard right. "Zara," he began softly, but she stepped closer, her little feet tapping against the cold marble floor. "No!" she shouted now, surprising even herself. "You can't shout at her like that. You can't call her names. You're supposed to love her." Ada gasped quietly, her hand over her mouth. Zara's eyes were wide and fierce, too mature for a 6-year-old, too full of pain she didn't understand but had already learned to carry. For a long second, nobody moved. The air buzzed with the kind of silence that hurts. Then Zara wiped her tears roughly, like she'd seen her mother do 100 times. "Mommy doesn't cry because she's weak," she said, her voice quivering. "She cries because she's tired. Because you make her tired." Chuka's throat tightened. He tried to speak, but the words stuck. He looked at Ada, who couldn't even meet his gaze. In that small apartment with the city lights blinking through the curtains, the weight of a child's truth crushed him harder than any argument ever could. Zara turned to her mother and held her hand, her tiny fingers curling protectively around Ada's. "Mommy, come," she whispered. "Let's go to your room." They walked away together, a small, fragile figure leading the woman who had always led her. The sight broke something open in Chuka's chest. He sat down heavily, staring at the space where his daughter had stood. The echo of her voice, that brave, trembling, "Don't ever disrespect my mom again," replayed in his head over and over. He realized in that moment that no man wins an argument that makes his daughter see him as the enemy. Later that night, as the city hummed back to life outside, Chuka knocked softly on their bedroom door. His voice was small when he spoke. "Zara," he whispered, knowing she was awake. "Daddy's sorry." A pause. Then the small voice came back, quieter but firm. "Then tell Mommy." And he did. That night, Chuka didn't just apologize. He listened. For the first time in years, he truly heard Ada's voice, her exhaustion, her fear, and he held her hand the way Zara had, like it was something fragile but worth protecting. But inside that small apartment, something shifted. A little girl had spoken, and love, bruised, cracked, but still alive, had finally listened.